their product because they're trying to get you addicted to their food so they can keep the money out of your pocket and keep the money in their pocket. Now, a person addicted to sugar would have a craving, a sweet tooth, as you call it. It's all right to have a sweet tooth if you're African because you're from a tropical country that had a lot of sweet fruits there. And the mangoes, papayas, oranges, plums, cherries, apples, the host of sweet fruits in Africa. So it's natural for you to have a sweet tooth. What is unnatural is for you to be exploited by it by the food industry. So they put sugar on everything. They put sugar in ketchup, sugar in mustard, sugar in mayonnaise, sugar in drugs, sugar in Tylenol, sugar on salt. Sugar's in everything. Sugar sprayed on tobacco, sugar's in beer. They put sugar in everything so it can make you addicted to the food so they can keep the money out your pocket and keep the money in their pocket. Now we get down here on the chart and you see how each zodiac sign controls a certain organ or section of your body. You see we have the kidneys again, which means the adrenal glands and the pancreas. So we have the note D in yellow, and we have the complementary organs, the kidneys, the heart, the pancreas, the spleen, the reproductive organs, all this involved in the packaging of merchandise to get you addicted to it. Now, on a mental plane, when you look at this holistic chart, which is in the book African Holistic Health, you'll see that when we're dealing with the pancreas and kidney, spleen and liver, we're dealing with the segregation of thoughts. You're able to use your linear side of your brain, and you're able to put them all together in a holistic fashion, in an African kind of fashion. But you can't synthesize those thoughts if these glands have been damaged by sugar, kidney, pancreas, spleen, and liver, which are damaged by sugar. It causes you to lose the ability to synthesize or holistically balance your thoughts. It taxes your respiratory system and your hearing, of course, and your complementary system, your reproductive system. As I mentioned before, there are melanin-dominant centers in the pancreas, and when you have any melanin-dominant kind of system, it's going to bind chemicals to it. Drugs get bind to it. All these drugs that you see are bound to the melanin in the liver, the brain, the reproductive system, pancreas. All of them get weakened by drugs. Codeine, morphine, caffeine, nicotine, all these are drugs bind to your melanin. That's what happens in the case of sugar diabetes. It's the melanin centers in the pancreas that get damaged. The Isles of Langerhans, those are melanin centers in the pancreas. But with that sugar addiction, we get this compulsive overeating that goes with sugar diabetes. You want things that turn into sugar quickly, such as potato chips and bleached white flour products. You want those. And it causes compulsive overeating. You always want something sweet or something that turns into sugar very quickly, which means it turns into alcohol very quickly. So you want to have a craving for potato chips. The food industry is structured in such a way that they don't want you to eat the potato because they can't make any money. They want you to eat the potato chip. They don't want you to eat corn because they can't make any money, so they want you to eat the corn chips, the tortillas, corn fritters, cornbread, but not the corn itself because they cut out their way of making money. So people become obsessed with food. They eat one meal and they're thinking about the next. And they either have low insulin production or hyperinsulin production. A person with hyperinsulin producing too much insulin because they have been eating too much sugar will eat the same amount of food as someone else, but they'll gain weight because they have hyperinsulin. They're producing too much insulin because they've taxed their pancreas with this white sugar, or honey, or aspartame, or NutraSweet, or bleached white flour, or potato chips, or beer, anything that has a sugar in it, it taxes the pancreas. And it becomes a mental disease, which is called compulsive overeating. As I mentioned before, the sugar, when it's processed, is stripped of all the nutrients you need. It's stripped of it, totally. And these nutrients and starch, bleach white flour, and white sugar turn to alcohol very quickly in the system. That's why we end up treating the alcoholism and the addiction the same way. Here's the chromium again that I showed you earlier. The glutamine is destroyed by heat in the processing of food. The B vitamins, which are used for your nervous system, which are taken out by processing sugars, sugar cane, the sugar in sugar beets. The vitamin C, which is destroyed by heat. All these nutrients you need to control your behavior so you won't be addicted to sugar are taken out in the processing. We have to replenish them and stop penalizing people for having a nutritional disease called diabetes mellitus, penalizing them and calling it mental illness or hyperactivity. Look, I just want to show you what's in malt liquor and beer. We're back to that same addicting ingredient. Aside from having these alcohols in it, we have the wood alcohol, the starch alcohol, the petroleum alcohol, the natural gas alcohol, all of which kills the nerves and damages the brain and the organs and the reproductive system. And then we have this white sugar to make it addicting. People are just guaranteeing their market. But by guaranteeing their market, they're also guaranteeing the destruction of your pancreas. Eventually, if you eat sugar, you're going to damage your pancreas, and of course you're going to eventually cause peripheral circulation damage, which means that your feet, your legs, and extremities will rot because they won't be able to get enough air, because those small veins and arteries are damaged. They become smaller, they become stiff, they begin to pack waste in them, they get occluded, get blocked, and your eyes start going, your hearing starts going, and all this is the cost you pay for just eating white sugar. It's very addicting, it's white, and we should stay away from it. You should try to eat things that have color in it, and that way you can ensure that you won't get this disease called diabetes mellitus. Eat brown sugar, right? It has color? No. Brown sugar is white sugar with caramel color on it. It's still a sugar. You want to eat brown rice, you want to eat whole wheat, you want to eat yellow grits, you want to eat corn, it's yellow. You want to eat the food in its natural state so you can keep your pancreas in its natural state. And understand that diabetes mellitus is curable. It's just a matter of staying away from the sugars. You'll have all kinds of reactions from the sugar and not know that you're having sugar reactions. You can have mood swings, as I mentioned before. The children can have temper tantrums. They can have violent outbursts. All these are signs and symptoms of a person having withdrawal from sugar or being high on sugar. I just want to go over, once again, we know that herbs for controlling sugar diabetes. One I want to point out to you is Gymnema sylvestre. That's also used for sugar diabetes, along with the bilberry I showed you earlier. Now, what gives you indication that you may be pre-diabetic or diabetic are these symptoms here. Excessive urinating, having to urinate all the time. Every time you eat, you got urinate kind of thing. Excessive urinating, getting up in the middle of the night urinating. Of course, that's also a symptom of the prostate disease as well. And always being thirsty, always having to drink something. Remember, the objective of the sugar industry is to keep the money out of your pocket and keep the money in their pocket, and they can't do it unless something is addicting. So they keep a lot of sugar in their drinks and things of that sort. They addict you to it, so that keeps you thirsty all the time. You drink a lot of sodas or a lot of water, always have to drink and always thirsty. That's an indication of pre-diabetic or diabetic condition. Overeating, because you're not getting the nutrients from your food, remember that, because the sugar, when you urinate, the glucose goes and the minerals go, so you don't have any energy, because you're always urinating out your energy. So you always want to eat, and when you eat, you're not getting enough energy from your food because you have this illness of your pancreas, which doesn't allow you to break down the nutrients in the food. Another sign and symptom of diabetes, or sugar disease as we call it, is gain or loss of weight easily. People that are diabetic lose weight very easily, and the people that have hyperinsulin, which is another form of diabetes, they eat the same amount of food as someone else, but they gain weight because their body's turning the starch into fat before they can use it. The body breaks down the carbohydrates with an enzyme called amylase. Remember I told you that. It breaks that down at such a high rate, so fast, that the person can't get to the energy in the food before the body turns it into fat. So they're gaining weight all the time, but not getting any energy. So they're always eating, not getting enough energy, and turning the energy into fat before they can even utilize it. And now they're not getting enough energy to their brain, because the sugar takes away the oxygen to the brain, takes away the minerals, because when the glucose goes, the minerals go. So the person's going to have mood swings, violent outbursts. The child is going to have temper tantrums. They're going to be hyperactive when they have the sugar, and when they're going through withdrawal, they're going to be hypoactive. All of these are combined are the signs and symptoms of a diabetes mellitus or sugar disease. The thing to combat it is just to get away from the refined carbohydrates. That's the